Major League Journeymen. We have a show for you today. We are bringing in the one, the only, the most major league contributor to our podcast, Mr. Chris Wingert. Chris, thank you for being in attendance. I will say that you are just now looking at the top of your jersey, maybe just
You're
another
glowing.
Red Bulls media
Wingert,
personality.
you
What
are
the hell
you
is
are
going on?
Hey, you are glowing. Oh, that's so pretty. Look at that.
Unbelievable.
Wow, I couldn't love how we
Little
started
tight,
this
boys.
show
Little
more.
tight.
You've stopped lifting, which I can tell because that jersey actually fits you okay. You're getting skinny. But that is a really, really nice looking jersey. I still, every time I go through my camera roll, sometimes I come across that picture of us when we did that media hit where I was wearing my Red Bull stuff. You were NYCFC. I think that worked out pretty well for the Red Bull side of things before that
Hey,
came up.
Gordo,
Yeah.
hold on. Gordo, if you had to bet what size that jersey is, coming out, Dax coming out of a game-worn jersey to give to Chris Wingert, what size are you taking? Because I know what I'm taking.
I was a large, and I'm 3 times the size of Dak. So I'm going medium.
That's right, Gordo. It is a medium.
I'm guessing Dax
they-
was about 140, 45 pounds when he wore this, and I'm 180, so it's a little tight in here.
100,
boy.
first of all, 152 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal. You know.
just knowing Dax, I could see him like small is the actual size, but he's too prideful to actually wear a small.
Yep,
So he
100%.
probably paid the kit man to just put an M on there, like, but it is a small size. You know that.
It's
was-
true story. The Kitmen, they had to go to the Red Bull store to pick out the youth jerseys. It's a youth large, actually.
No,
A youth
no,
XL.
that's-
A youth
It's
XL.
large, but
Oh my God, it's pretty good, Mr. Wingert. It's great to see you. How you been, pal? What have you been up to, man?
back.
What's
Good to
going
be
on
back.
over there?
I'm hoping that the Wi-Fi stays true today, since I've screwed that up a number of times, and I'm actually out at my parents' house, childhood house. Can you guys see? That's a Michael Jordan
No.
Yeah, it
poster
is.
up on the wall, ghetto style. I think I taped that thing together. But
That's
couldn't
I
miss
love it,
out on
man.
this. And I went through the closet. I knew I had to have at least one of your jerseys in there.
I love it.
That's great.
On this puppy. So it takes a lot for me to wear a Red Bull jersey. But after
You look great. You never look
Big
better,
win.
pal.
Tim Parker and the boys this weekend, and
Go on, Timmy.
knew I was gonna
Another
say-
another journeyman, another friend of the pod, and another ginger. What a great shout out this show is turning into. I love it.
Dude, repping the Red Bull. That's pretty impressive out of you, Christopher Wingert. Especially considering that you played for NYCFC, which is somewhat contentious, but I don't know how many NYCFC fans we have on this podcast. So you may be safe. I did want to throw this and get you started off on the transfer window and what I think the complexions that your club time looked a little bit different with RSL and with NYCFC. I was thinking about back when we had a couple battles with you in light blue, and you were playing with the Pirlos and the Lampards and the David Villas, and those were pretty big names. They, not that Kyle Beckerman and Javi Morales and Nick Raimondo didn't carry a big stick, but they were a different profile in this league. When you were with NYCFC, I was also thinking about probably maybe the most high profile game with stars at that point when you guys came across the country and you played me and Gordo in LA when we had Gerard and we had Sebi and we had who else was on Dos Santos and Robbie. We had a few stars, and we threw a little
How'd that
shade
result
at
go?
you guys on the Gargs and Gordo show. Do you remember that little bit that we did?
What? No, remind me. I can't remember.
Oh my
What-
God,
Come
dude.
on,
I'm gonna go
dude.
back and watch it.
Gordo and I
Cognitive
were-
dissonance.
we were doing our Gargs and Gordo bit, right? And we had we had you guys, Pirlo, Lampard, and David Villa had just done like the New York Times or
That shoot.
somebody the photo shoot that they all did in wife beaters. And they looked like absolute clowns because not one of them was actually really fit at the time, and they were all dressed up. So Gordo and I, we did a shoot with Gordo, what was his name? Oh, Nacho
Ignacio.
Magan. Yes. Oh my God, Maganto, who was amazing. This little like Spanish winger that like idolized David Villa, and we convinced him to jump into this shoot with us. He had no business doing it,
Oh
and
my.
we just threw a ton of shade at you guys. We were like spitting water on each other and picking out like which wife beater was going to work out the best. Oh my God! And I remember talking to you before the game because it was an ESPN game. Sunday night or Sunday afternoon game, I think. And you were talking about, I had sent you the link to the video, and you responded with, I just watched it with all of my teammates on the team bus on Saturday as we were heading to the airport. You ready? Dude,
Of course.
it was like you and Jay Hernandez, dude, some icons.
We were
Gordo
probably
and I
loving it, even though
dude, dying laughing. But it also like it threw a little bit of a wrench in because our locker room was like, yo, you just pissed off three of, I don't know, the most famous players in our league and in the world right now, right before we played them, not after we played
wait till
them.
after. I
Gordo, do you
remember
remember
a
what the
couple of
score
things from
was?
that trip. I remember we went out. We were there early, and I remember we went to the beach one day down to Manhattan. I'm sure, and because that was like one of the first upgrades. You know, we used to say it at the Torrance Marriott,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Finally got to
Not
upgrade
anymore.
to the Manhattan Beach Marriott, the Westdrift now, I guess it is, right? And I'll never forget, we were at the beach, and Lampard looked at me and was like, "What the am I doing in New York?
Yeah.
Like I could have played here, and I
Yeah.
chose you guys. Like I chose you guys." And he even spoke to David about it.
Yeah.
And I looked at he looked at me, and I was like, "Dude, don't
Shit.
ask me. You're an idiot."
I would have told you. I would have told you. Yeah.
You didn't consult me for advice here, pal. I would have directed you
Exactly.
right here to the beach.
I remember that. And then the other thing, which I guess it wasn't really this trip, but when Ned ended up having a little bit of a falling out and he was gonna get transferred, get moved, we made this. It was the hot tub photo that is so well known with you
With
guys.
Sebi?
We superimposed his head. Somebody did, I don't know who it was, in between Villa and Claudio. And it's like arm in arm. It's so, I gotta have it somewhere. I gotta look.
Dude, you gotta pull that one up. That was
dude.
that was like the first thing that we did in the tub with the boy. Was the first thing that Gordo and I did with Sebastian Lletget. And Gordo,
We took all of his Instagram photos and we did a spin on him. Like I was in front of a Tonka truck with like a gold chain, like my kid's little like power wheel, and I'm like this, and we coined the phrase the eclipse. Or I shouldn't say I did, because
oh boy, here we go.
I'm the idea of the eclipse. How good was that? He loved
the
it.
eclipse. He did love it. I remember
So
that
I don't
video.
know. I would love to review or revisit his Instagram page, because at this time when we first signed Sebastian Lletget, he came over and he was like on Instagram, on social media, way ahead of his time, and just posting and posting and posting and posting. And we printed out 40 of his last posts, and every single one was him going like this. It was the exact same face. So we just printed them out, and we were like, "What are you thinking here? What are you thinking here? What's your emotion here?" Oh, dude, we're killing this guy.
He's like, yeah, no, that's Magnum. Yeah, no, that's La Tigra. And then you guys are after the show like, it's all the same look. Like, what?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he's dating Mexican superstars and has like an Instagram following of 1 million people, and he's teaching us about the intricacies of why we need to take our profile off private.
He's like,
what the hell is going on?
101.
Oh my God, it was so good. It was so good. But that was a different time in MLS, and we are now here. You are what's been going on with you, dude? You're not with Rock Nation anymore. You're out on your own. You got your own gig, your own shop. What's been the feeling within this transfer window for you as an agent?
Yeah, to be honest, so it's been about a year now, a little over a year. I've been off on my own, and it's going well. Working with a bunch of the same guys that I have for the past few years that you guys know, mostly in MLS. And a couple of guys that I had over in Europe have actually made the transition back. And so none of my guys are moving cross continent, but a few within the league and then a couple within USL as well. And yeah, I mean, to me, I think the big stories are interesting to not only to me and to us, but to my guys because of how it will affect their current situation. So I'll give you an example. Nkosi Tafari, right? He's on
Oh yeah.
LAFC. He's on LAFC. Okay. Literally have a
What a
conversation.
great signing for you, by the way. That's amazing.
He's the man. He's honestly one of my favorite guys to work with.
But Wing,
Yeah.
I want you to go into him a little bit more because I assumed he would play more in LA. So maybe you can get into like kind of what's going on there. And now with the injury to Aaron Long, like if that's the road you were headed down, I would love to know more intricacies about his situation with that center back need there.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, not to rewind too far, but obviously he was in FC Dallas, right?
Yep.
Had really established himself there. But even though he had done so well over the past, whatever it was, 4 years or so, got called into the full team, etc., he was still like in and out at times. Was getting a little frustrated. And so I spoke to Dallas and we're like, would you guys be open to letting him go somewhere else? Both LA teams were interested. New York, a bunch of different teams were interested. And so long story short, ended up obviously going to LAFC, worked with Thorrington on that deal. He was great. I think that was the idea, right? That they're going to be able to bring him in and he was going to somewhat potentially fulfill a role of forgetting his name now. That's playing
Murillo.
Exactly. Murillo. Yep. And could potentially fulfill that role. They knew they had a couple of good center backs. Obviously, Aaron Long kind of being the number one, right? But Segura, a couple others, Chanel getting older. So he went in. I think it didn't play out kind of how we had all hoped it would necessarily, but he was still playing well. They ended up going on a run of about 8 to 10 games late spring, early summer, and they were winning, and he wasn't in the lineup. Yeah. And so it sounded like Cherundolo still, really liked him. Nkosi, obviously, like any of us, wanted to be on the field, but otherwise wasn't unhappy with the situation. So John and I had a long talk about it. Should we look to do something, or, is everybody content to see this through a little bit? I know Nkosi wanted to stay and still earn those minutes. It's also a unique scenario because Steve is leaving at the end of the year, right? So that provides a whole new element to this situation because it's like, okay, a new coach coming in next year.
Yeah, clean slate.
Kind of starting from a clean slate, right? So literally within 2 weeks, and, of course, none of us ever want to see somebody get injured like that. So heartbreaking to see Aaron Long, who's obviously been a stud for the national team, not just in MLS, tears his Achilles. So terrible. Then they had another center back who had to go back on loan. His club over in Europe called him back off a loan.
Yeah.
His name was Marlon, I think.
Yep. Yep.
So he went back. So all of a sudden they're down 2 center backs. Nkosi starts playing. He's doing quite well. The team's doing well. And the rumors start flying around Son possibly coming in, which of course could potentially change the trajectory of your whole season, right? So that's where we find ourselves. And I give Kos a lot of credit for sticking it out and taking advantage of the opportunity that these guys have given him. He's played, I don't know how many games in a row now with Leagues Cup as well. I want to say 6 or 7 games in a row. He's done well. They've done well. They're just coming off a big win in New England on the road over the weekend. And I got to tell you guys this because I know you'll appreciate it. We all appreciate the behind the scenes stuff. But texting with him after the game, and I was like, the boy's got to be buzzing, right? Like, Son comes in, he's playing well. You guys get a big road win. You're flying cross country back to California. I'm like, what was the mood, right? And he's like, I got to be honest. He's like, we get back, everybody's buzzing. I'm sitting on the plane. I'm next to Hugo Lloris. He's become buddies with Lloris. And obviously Son is there. I actually forgot until recently. Of course, they played together for years over at Spurs. And he's like, we're just like chatting about the game and, like having a little glass of wine, and they're heading back after. I'm like, what an experience. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
sharing some vino with a couple legends.
come on, a World Cup winner who, now is like you're playing right next to, who they've had a pretty good relationship and have hit it off since Coast.
What an experience for him.
And then Son comes in and he said, I'm a huge fan of Son. So I said I asked Coast, I said, like, is he what we all think? Like, he seems like he'd be a great teammate, a great guy to add to the mix. And he's like, Chris, absolute legend. Like, of course, we all have that respect and appreciation for him right off the bat, but you can tell his personality is just like wants to get the group together, wants to do everything he can to hopefully take us to the next level, and is totally a guy that's going to like buy in, work his tail off, and do everything on the chemistry side as well. So it was pretty cool to hear.
Wings, just snag me a jersey. That'd be great. Thanks. And then I have actual real work to do. So unfortunately, I'm going to need to dip out, but I appreciate you. Love you guys. See you boys later.
See you, Gargs. Wing, I love that story. And it's a good transition that we can get into because I'm fascinated by this transfer window with Rodrigo De Paul going to Miami, Son going to LAFC, Muller going to Vancouver. I think 3 teams that are all contenders to win silverware this year, all adding really, really high level, high caliber players. I want to know 2 things from you because I want to compare what's going on now in MLS to maybe your Real Salt Lake days and your NYCFC days. Real Salt Lake, you guys formed one. I would consider you guys a mini dynasty because of how successful you were. You only won 1 MLS Cup, but that team in Salt Lake, you guys had an identity. You kind of changed the way teams played in MLS back in those 2008, 2011 kind of run you guys had. What are the differences between you guys in Salt Lake, where you had a bunch of unheralded superstars who no one knew about, and they turned themselves into superstars for Major League Soccer just based on all their performances, but they were smaller names. And then you go to NYCFC and you're playing with 3 legends of the game that all their legacies are all secured, but only one of them really performed. David Villa was pretty much the only one that performed, and Pirlo and Lampard, their legacy in Major League Soccer at least, isn't obviously very well thought of because they didn't play that great. And so you add these big name superstars. What do you make of kind of maybe the differences between those 2 groups? What do you think has the chance to be more successful, right? Because in MLS, I think we've seen a real evolution between those 2 types of kind of ways to build a team. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's a great contrast. It really is a fascinating thing to think about. I think, of course, the league was in a different place when we had those good teams in Salt Lake, right? So the league wasn't quite at a place where these big name superstars were coming in and really having an impact to take over until shortly after that. And so for us to create a team, obviously wasn't me, but for the front office and coaching staff to create a team that was a bunch of what we would call Americans, even if they're not actually American, but, we're in the college system, played here for a while. And then surround them by a few special players was really a recipe for success. I mean, we saw it in DC. We saw it in New England, right? We saw it in Houston. And these different places were kind of showing the blueprint for how that could work. And so that's exactly, what they did in Salt Lake. And fortunately, I was able to be a small part of it. It's funny, before we played Galaxy in the final in 2009, one of the reporters said to me, what's it like? You guys don't have, the big personalities. They have the big personalities. Yep. And I was like, just because you don't know them or they're not household names doesn't mean they're not big personalities, right?
Exactly.
Like, we've all played with those guys. And that was the difference between what the outside world got to see and what we knew was going on with the locker room. I always say this. I think I can't give enough credit to Beckerman and Javi Morales because they made sure, and I don't even know, we'd have to ask them if it was intentional or if it was just natural for those 2 guys, because they are, that's how they are. That's their personalities. Yeah. But they made it a point to make sure that we had a group that was unified and that was all going to spend time together. And it didn't mean, we weren't going to get in some fights and,
of course,
stuff happens in a locker room. but can be productive, right? That type of stuff can be productive. But for the most part, they made sure everybody was on board. And I noticed in the following years, once in a while, we'd get somebody that came in that wasn't really trying to be a part of the group. And what would happen is, they just wouldn't really make it with our team. Even if they were super talented, it just wouldn't be a fit, is what I should say, because those guys were so adamant about us having a group that, because we knew we needed that, right? Because we didn't maybe have. Course. I mean, look, there is an argument that Javi was the best player in the league for a minute, and Nick in his 100%. Position. But with that being said, where I was going with that was, we didn't have these extreme outliers, right? So we knew that we probably needed to have everything else well
be perfect. And everyone raised their level. And so is that kind of why in New York City, like, things just didn't work out? The balance was weird. Pirlo and Lampard didn't play great, even though by all accounts, I mean, I think you've said before, they were true professionals. They were great guys. It just maybe didn't work out because they were maybe a little bit past their primes.
I think what really hurt us, so I don't know if you guys remember this, but remember that Frank went to Man City for it ended up being a full season.
Yeah.
Right before he came, right? Because he knew he was coming. Yeah. So he had already signed with NYCFC. So he goes to Man City. So that's the fall of 2014, right? And he actually got off to a great start with them, scored some goals. But by the wintertime, he wasn't in the squad, really. And what happened was he was supposed to come to us to start the season, which I truly think would have made a massive difference, because Frank is like total guy's guy, would be a guy that would, go out with the three of us and have a beer tonight. And he's just the man. And I think everybody really would have followed him, and he would have been helpful, not just on the field, but off the field, to kind of make sure that we had the foreign contingent and the American contingent all together. And what happened was Yaya Toure left to go to African Cup of Nations, and they wouldn't let Frank leave, even though he wasn't playing consistently, because he was a depth piece for them. Because I saw him, and we had become friendly pretty early on, I think just because I was from New York. And so he would come over with Christine and look at places, and we'd go out to dinner or whatever. Me, him, Jay Hernandez, spent a little time together. And so he was telling me, he's like, Chris, I don't want to be here anymore in Manchester. I'm trying to come. They won't let me leave. Yeah. And obviously by missing that early window, he couldn't come to July. Then he came in July and he got hurt right away. And it was, people from the outside, he's on retirement. He's not. Guys, couldn't be further from the truth. Like, he would stay after practice and run sprints on his own to get healthy. I mean, literally couldn't be further from the truth. And I don't know if you remember this, but the next year I was gone, but he had I want to say 12 goals in 13 games. There was a run there when he was healthy, and unfortunately he just wasn't, and he came in late. And I think it really hurt just the locker room, because I think again everybody would have rallied around him, and then we would have had him and David. Pirlo wasn't coming to the summer no matter what, but we actually started to squeak out some results, and our team honestly wasn't that great. Like, if you looked at our,
there's a weird balance.
It was even when the makeup of the team, when we first put it out in, the first couple months of that season, I was looking at the squad, we're going to really have to grind some results out. We're not going to just go out and outplay people. Right.
Because they built you guys kind of like the early days of the Galaxy. They're spending a lot of money on three guys, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of money to go.
When two of them don't hit, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and you're in trouble.
And then there's another thing, Gordo, that you'll know this better than anybody. What Bruce was such a genius by doing was, getting those guys right, but getting the right guys around them. I mean, look at Gargs. I mean, you know what I mean? You're a perfect example. Gargs is a perfect example. He was able, dude, AJ, yes, Omar
pulled Gargs right out of the dumpster behind, Albertsons in Redondo Beach. Who found that guy? And and made it and put him in a great position for him to be successful and be a major play a major role in that. But yeah, dude, I mean, that's why he's brilliant. And you know why? Look at Bruce. Every time he moves, he brings the same guys with him. Dave
The
Romney's
vibes
gonna go
guys.
everywhere. He's
Ian
got the
Harks,
guys.
Mark Anthony K. I
How
think
many
he's got
guys are
about
in
7
San
former
Jose
Revs on
from New
that
England
team.
right now?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
many guys are in San Jose from New England?
He does it all the time.
Genius.
But he knows he gets guys that he can trust around the special players. He lets the special players do his thing, and then he keeps everybody accountable to make sure that the balance is good and that it all works, right? So
And
he does have a system.
unfortunately, they got a few of those things wrong. And look, it's easy to look back, right?
Of course.
Afterwards, but we brought in a center back from South America who we thought was going to be our version of Olave, and he didn't even end up making the team. He was back home. Seriously.
Yeah.
And then George John, your boy Dax, who we
I
loved,
know. Great guy.
literally just him would have changed the team if he could have gotten healthy, but it was
couldn't
after
stay
all those
healthy.
surgeries.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you got me and Jason Hernandez, two 5'11" guys playing center back, trying to make things work, and it just was we never kind of could catch that, and we caught a little momentum in like May going into June. We went like I think 6 games unbeaten, was just a little bit of a turning point, and then all of a sudden brought in a bunch of new guys in the summer, and they felt like they had to play them. To be fair, individually they were all super talented, but just wasn't like a great fit for the team. I'll never forget. You guys remember Angelino?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Angelino,
tatted guy. He played for Man City a little bit. Roma, right?
Yeah, exactly. Went to Red Bull, I think Leipzig, maybe.
Yeah. I remember Angelino.
He came in and he was like 18 years old, and I'm like, oh, I'm definitely never playing left back. This dude is miles better than me. Like he came in and he was like screwing around in practice. He's like Megan guys, he was something pretty special. But he was over being there. Do you know? He didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
He thought he was, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Thought he was too good.
He came over with another center back from Man City who wasn't on the same level, respectfully, as he was. And he was over it. And it just was, the dynamic wasn't great. And then all of a sudden we get to the early fall and we were too far behind the 8 ball.
Well, I'm never going to agree with this. I guess Red Bulls do it really well. You have Leipzig and you have some other Red Bull teams around the world that works. But for the MLS, it's kind of like Chivas and Chivas USA. Like you're always to get guys to go on that team. They're always going to feel like it's the redheaded stepchild. They don't want to be there. They don't, they're not playing on the team. And I feel like Man City was battling themselves early on because it's like, they were trying to do this like pass along, move players in and out. And these guys are going to be like, I don't want to be here. MLS didn't have the respect that it does today, probably. And the guys are coming in and out. All they want to do is leave. So how are you guys going to have good chemistry?
When did Red Bulls have their best teams? Not to pump up Dax too much on his phone call.
Oh, please no.
But Gordo, to my point, when did they have their best teams? It wasn't the guys that they were bringing over from Austria and Germany and these places. Yeah. It was it was Dax and Sasha and Grella and Lloyd and BWP and these guys. That was not their
totally.
So
I have that same feeling.
Maybe for their business it makes sense, but I tell you right now, and I love the guys on that team, the current team, and this past year, Ryan Mara is one of my closest friends. Like, love that guy. The Nealis brothers, awesome dudes. Like this, Tim's back there now, but like you have people in the staff, Jimmy Mulligan, these guys are great guys. But I told them flat out, I did not want them to go to MLS Cup or win because aside from the New York rivalry, because I felt like it's projecting the wrong thing to our league around the world.
100%.
They could say they could have, like you said, the redhead stepchild, the third on their tier, that's still winning MLS Cup or going to MLS Cup. I hate that. And Gordo, I'm definitely not a Galaxy fan, but because of that, I wanted Galaxy to win only because I was like, at least then people could see we're trying to do things
the right investment, good young players, big transfer fees. Yeah.
So anyway.
Dude, that makes a lot of sense. And you've been retired now, Wings, for 8 years, is it?
Yes.
8 years. And we've seen MLS evolve in a lot of ways, but in some ways, we've also seen it not evolve in some ways. I know how I feel about some things being an analyst now, like working in media and having to be honest about what I see in certain occasions. But there are also things where I'm just like, like, I don't know if that's going to change quickly enough. From your perspective, like just from an agent's perspective, a guy that is constantly trying to figure out the best solutions for his talent, whether they be young players or maybe they're older players. Tim Parker, a great example. Where do you see MLS having to evolve the most if they want to get to the next level in terms of the best young players and the best players in their prime consistently coming over to Major League Soccer? Is it salary cap related? Is it schedule related? We've seen calendar conversations about them going to uh, a more summer type transfer window calendar where they would align with the European transfer window. Like from an agent perspective, what do you think is the biggest thing MLS has to change?
Yeah, I wish that they would. I mean, of course, it's a combination of a lot of things, right? So it's not.
Yeah, but we can spend forever
Correct.
on that. What's
Correct.
priority number
Well,
one?
to simplify it as best as possible, or to put it to prioritize it, I would say that it's cap related. I would love to see them open up the cap and let teams spend in terms of the rest of their roster, right? Get rid of the DP thing and get rid of in terms of course you have to regulate it a little bit, but pay the rest of your roster, one, which is what Liga MX has done forever, and one of the reasons why they've still been ahead of us until maybe recently. But there's definitely an argument that they've been ahead of us. And two, it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed the parity in the league so far. And obviously, there's teams spending way more money, right? So
Yeah.
Miami's an outlier, but even whoever, Toronto before that, or Galaxy, or some of these teams that are big spenders, Atlanta, it hasn't really changed. It hasn't
No.
changed. So open it up a little bit and see what happens, and then at
Yeah.
least because the other reason why I'd like that to happen is not only so the rest of the roster could get paid accordingly, but let's see what tactic works in terms of building the team. Like we're talking
Yeah.
about, there's different ways to build a team. Those the way I look at it, there's like three different tiers or groups of ownership, right? There's the newer tier who wants to come in and spend money and push the envelope. Then there's the original group of
that don't want to spend money.
That don't want to spend money. The Crafts, or Bob Kraft. Who else would be in that? The Hunts. Some of these groups, right, that really don't. And then there's the middle tier that are kind of like they'll probably go in whatever direction the league goes.
Yeah.
Right? And I would love to see the league open it up and say, go ahead. And if you're one of those bottom teams, you don't have to spend this, right? You don't have to spend as much.
Could get ugly quickly.
Because you're not. But let's see, can you keep up? And if not, then it would push the envelope to, I feel like the league's been around long enough. Yes, they don't. I think there was definitely some hesitancy because back in the 70s and 80s, that's what happened with the NASL.
Yeah.
There was a few, my dad played in the 70s a bit, and he always tells me, he's like, it just got out of control and it wasn't sustainable. I feel like the league's in a good spot where it's not going anywhere. I would love to see them open it up a bit, and maybe not, just completely open it up, but sure, definitely open up the spending a bit.
What do you got?
I mean, would you want that? Do you like parity? Like it's a super, I mean, this league's grown so much. What I like about it, not to stay on this too much, but if you had the choice between the way the league is now, having a lot of parity, teams very, very close, any given year, a different team can win. It seems like I know some Columbuses and LAs are kind of, they're kind of poking their head out a little bit more than the rest, or would you want like four powerhouse teams like the EPL, those guys that are going to win and challenge for, the top six or champions
every year,
every
single time? Would you rather have that?
I think you do need the parity, especially with a young. I know it's young. It's still young, right? All things considered, it's still a young league, and you do need some of the parity. But you need to find, in my opinion, you need to find a balance between the two. And we see it the same thing with the youth, right? So they've geographically set up the academies to where basically you get to work with the players that are within, your region. And the other thing I don't like about that is because teams take advantage of it. Forever, NYCFC, they didn't even have a second team, right? And they were still entitled to have these players up until they were in their early 20s as part of their system, and if they didn't want them, but they couldn't go anywhere else. Whereas it would force teams to do what Real Salt Lake has done by building this phenomenal facility, because what would happen? The best players would want to go there, right?
Right.
You don't think Ajax doesn't care if the players from Amsterdam, you know what I mean? It's like the best players are going to go there because that's where they're developing talent. So I think there needs to be an element of, they have changed some rules, but it's way too tight and way too strict. And it's not really opened up enough to push the bottom feeders up with the rest of the group.
Wing, take me behind the scenes of what a funny interaction or contract negotiation has looked like for you in the last year. Like, you don't have to name names. You don't have to throw a specific GM out there, but I find it fascinating, like from an agent perspective, right? Like, you're talking on behalf of players. You've got their livelihood in their hands. Like, how far do you push GMs when you are apart on player valuations? Like, is there a specific story? You don't have to name a player name or a GM name, but if you did, that would be amazing. Not putting any pressure on you, but I'm just because as me and Gordo, I don't know if Gordo was ever taking it into his own hands and negotiating his own contracts. I've never done that personally, but
No.
how is that relationship like? Are there some GMs you have better relationships with and that are easier to deal with? And what does that look like? Do you have a specific example of a funny one that you've happened recently?
Yeah, let me try to think of a specific one that I could tell you guys that's funny, but you're spot on. You can imagine. And I tell the players this all the time. I'm like, listen, you don't want me, because now a lot of the guys in the front office are our friends, right? We played
teammates,
Ned, whatever.
Give me some. What about Ned?
I've told Gordo this, right? Nobody loves Ned more than us. It's so funny to me, Dax. We have a text with me, him, and Jason Hernandez, also GM now.
Yes,
that's funny,
yes.
Right?
That's crazy.
We have a text thread with us for the past since NYCFC, so 10 years, right? We used to send each other stupid clips of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yeah. And then it turned into then Ned became GM first, right? Yeah. And sometimes I'll text him about something so stupid, not even work related. I don't, that's secondary to me with a guy like that who I, room with on the road.
Of course.
For 8-10 years. And he's like, "Hi, Chris. Sorry, I didn't." You know what I mean?
He's so professional and buttoned up.
Dude, listen, we all saw you cut the hair. You went back to the side part. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's so good.
I've talked to Gordo about this. So we're down in Carolina, but I'm like, come on, dude. Don't give me that. Don't give me the "Hi, Chris." You know what I mean?
Is struggle, dude.
Are they a pain in the ass to deal with? I mean, have they been?
No, he's negative net. It's if you talk to him, Samantha knows this. It's you talk to him and he's only happy if he's not happy. Right? It's
yeah. I'm
he
thrives. He thrives in the chaos.
He thrives. I'm like, "What's going on over there?" And he'll complain for 20 minutes, and I'm like, "Oh, so you're really enjoying it. I can tell. You're so happy right now." Jason Hernandez, he keeps it real more with me, and he'll be like, "Oh, dude, I'm really sorry I didn't get back to you," and we'll if it's work related, we'll do that, but then we can separate it and shoot the shit a little bit, and
I love it.
It is funny to see how some guys change and some guys don't,
Yeah, it's most do.
Most do. I will say this. I get that there are times when you have to make a distinct change. I mean, going back to the RSL thing, it was pretty obvious that Jason Christ felt like he needed to do that because he went from being a player to a coach literally a week later. And so all the guys on the team were his friends. So he traded everybody away, but I don't blame him. And then he had this, which we thought was a little weird, but I do get it. He turned on this Bob Bradley mode a little bit where he was very serious and I feel but we respected it because I felt like he was only a few years older than us. He had to establish who the boss is and who's not. And the opposite was Jeff Cassar. Cassar, took
Love
over,
that.
and we all are like, if I go down to
Cassar's the
Dallas now,
best.
Jeff is like, Chris, you're staying at my house. Like, I love that guy so much. And he was hard
He's
for
amazing.
him to, I think, create that barrier because he is such a loving guy.
He values those relationships.
He values them so much. I think he had a hard time with separating the two. I always laugh. I've told this to Gargs. I would compare Jeff to Dick Vermeil. He's like the guy that's, hugging you and like, it's just a different way. And there's no right or wrong way. But I do understand guys feeling like they have to create that.
Of course, dude.
That separation.
Dude,
it can't be easy, dude.
No,
it's
hard.
Cannot be easy.
But I love.
I'll tell you a quick one. Sorry,
go. Go.
To give you a quick one, right? So, and he won't mind that I mention his name because we are so close.
Great.
And So, this was years ago, and it was about Nkosi. So, actually, it was a separate conversation. But I called up Lucci when he was still coaching in Dallas, and Luch and I had room together on the road. Kyle and I used to go visit him when he moved back to Florida. Like, we were really good friends,
Lucci Gonzalez.
Gonzalez.
Yeah.
And he obviously had, did so well, it still is, but, had turned into a coach. And while we were still playing, and when I stopped and started representing the guys, I called him about Nkosi for a while, and he was great. I said, listen, Luch, if you're not going to play him, we let him go back to Red Bull, actually, because they had some interest. And he was like, Chris, I love him. If he's healthy, he's going to play. So I called him. I had called him like a little before that and told him, hey, I'm going to reach out to one of your young players. It was a young player coming through, and he kind of freaked out on me and was like, Chris, and I was like, Luch, like almost like, do you remember what you talking to?
Are we good?
And I literally was like, I called you. I don't have to call you. Obviously, I can reach out to whoever I want. I called you out of respect just to tell you. And he totally he realized, and he's like, I'm sorry, man. He was like, I've had, and I won't mention any names here.
Had a long day.
But he was like, he was like, I've had some other agents who I knew really well growing up who have kind of went behind my back and done some things that I, we don't even talk anymore.
Yeah.
And I knew for 20 years. And I was like, I get it because he's not wrong. And I could see that happening. But I was kind of like, I'm coming to you as a friend and out of respect. And it was fine. But
that's interesting. No, that's really fascinating because I know they're completely different careers, but I do feel like the managing of relationships when you become a member of the media, like I am now, and when you become an agent and you have to manage all of your former coaches, your former teammates, to try to be respectful, but also do the best for yourself, your client. And then for me, it's like, I have to be authentic. I have to do my job. The best interaction I've had so far since retirement has been with someone that I knew for quite a long time, who was someone that I liked and respected, and we still have a great relationship. But obviously, he moved up the ladder and became pretty important GM. And I had a conversation with him just to kind of pick his brain, and he was super open with me. And I kind of was like, hey, man, listen, as a friend, I also have to be honest. I think there are areas where you could have done better. He's like, hey, man, you say what you need to say. He's like, I'm not going to take it personally because I know you're just doing your job. And I love that. I love that from him. I feel like it's kind of the same with you and Lucci and that whole vibe, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. When you're like Gordo and you're totally out of it, say whatever you want. Oh, this guy sucks.
Yeah. Also, Gordo's not. Yeah, he's ready to tell anybody to their face too.
Yeah, he will.
Dax, one time, I think it was when we were in, I'm almost positive it was actually the CONCACAF Champions League with Monterrey, and Martino was doing the games, and I had a bunch of friends hit me up after we played and was like, your boy Martino's throwing you under the bus. And I went back and listened to it, and Kyle's one of my best friends, and I was like, it's fair. It is what it is. Kyle would take any opportunity to try to pump me up.
Of course, but he's got to call it how he sees it.
But he's got to call it how he sees it, and whether or not I agree with being out of position or doing something wrong or whatever, he's calling the game. He's got to be able to be himself. Of course, he wasn't out of line at all. And people love to stir the pot.
Stir the pot. They love
it. I had a handful of friends reach out to me and say like, "Oh, your boy," because they knew how close Kyle and I
Of
were.
course.
And I'm like, dude,
He's doing his job. But not everyone is like you. There are some people who don't like their name being associated with negativity, even though as an athlete, it took me a little while to realize this too. Like, you've got to be able to have some accountability, some personal accountability, and look in the mirror and take criticism. Dude, Wing, it goes back to this, and I don't want to open this whole can of worms. I'm sure you have thoughts on it. It goes back to what we talked about in our last episode with Pulisic and Tim Weah and the stuff that they're talking about. It's like, give me a break, man. Have some look, like, guys, have some accountability. Like, what are we talking about here? These media members are doing their job. Anyways, I don't want to open up that can of worms.
But you're right.
I digress.
No. You're spot on. And I think what it comes down is try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And it doesn't mean you have to agree with what they're saying.
But it's not personal.
It's not personal. They're calling how they see it. And you might not like it, and that's okay. But it's one of those where you're like,
yeah,
really disagree. It doesn't mean they hate you.
Right. Exactly.
or
Wing, we could talk about this stuff for hours with you, but we got to wrap this up with Leagues Cup. What have you made of Leagues Cup? Me and Gordo, we tried to put our analyst hats on. Gordo took LAFC to win Leagues Cup. I took Club America, and both of them fell flat on their faces, didn't even make it to the quarterfinal stage, which what do you make of I want to get your prediction for how Leagues Cup is going to go, and who do you think is going to win it? The quarterfinal matchups are as follows. Inter Miami Tigres, what a game. Toluca Orlando, what a game. And that's one side of the bracket, by the way.
Orlando's playing really well lately.
Yeah. What's up, Gordo?
Do the MLS teams get to host, or are they kind of bouncing around?
Inter Miami is hosting Tigres. Toluca is hosting Orlando in LA. Seattle is hosting Puebla. And the Galaxy are hosting Pachuca. So Seattle and LA, their games are on one side of the bracket. Inter Miami, Toluca, and Orlando Tigres is the other side of the bracket. What have you made of the new Leagues Cup format, Wing, and who do you think is going to win this version?
I love that you said Toluca's hosting in LA, which is accurate, but also kind of hilarious. Okay, so I have one complaint about the new format. I felt like I'd be interested to hear what you guys thought. I felt like because it was so hard to get through to the next rounds this year, that teams kind of gave up by the third game. Second game.
Yeah.
If they lost, you're almost automatically out. So definitely by the third game, but even by the second game. And I'd like to see them find a balance there. Maybe it's you go to a round of 16 instead of a quarters. I don't know.
Yeah. Sure.
I kind of like the idea of it being, half MLS and half Liga MX, just because then you're going to get everybody to continue to watch them up. But I think they should have went one more round, because I think it's not just about the teams that actually go through. It would have made that third game in the knockout or in the initial round more interesting.
Still more interesting. Yeah, no, I don't disagree, but I think, dude, like anything, you run into this jigsaw puzzle of trying to find match days that maybe
in the middle of the game.
They maybe just don't exist. Gordo, since you're technologically illiterate and you're saying your computer might die, give me your prediction. You had LAFC winning. I had Club America. We're both dead wrong. But what do you make of the quarterfinal matchups, and who's taking this home?
For me, the most impressive has been on the MLS side has been Seattle. Obviously, they get the 7-0 win, but it's not just all about that. Schmetzer's done it again. I hate saying that, and every time I question what he's doing with that roster change, they just got a really good group, dude. They always put it together at somehow, some way. I think they're really good, man.
Are they winning it all?
I think they're going to win the tournament. Yeah, I think Seattle's the front runner for me. Tigres is Tigres. They'll be dangerous on that side. So I think I'm not sure how the quarterfinals match up.
We know how it works with the semis and the finals, where they're going to be.
So if the LA Galaxy win, if the LA Galaxy win out, every game is in LA.
Okay.
Yes. If Seattle meets LA, it's going to be played in LA. If it's either of the Mexican teams, it'll be in Seattle or LA because they're ranked higher. Okay. If Inter Miami makes it all the way to the final, as long as it's not against the Galaxy, it would be in Miami. And then Toluca is like the next highest rated team, so they would host in LA, I think, the entire time. So Make of it what you will. The Mexican teams are obviously at a disadvantage there. I think the Galaxy are a dark horse, man. I think the Galaxy are going to beat Pachuca, even though they've been terrible in league play. They have been better in Leagues Cup. I can see a scenario where the Galaxy somehow sneak through against Seattle, even though Seattle whopped them 4-0 recently. I like
They're not
Toluca
good,
though.
so.
Toluca, I don't know what it is about Toluca, but they have the most informed striker right now in the tournament with Paulinho. The guys must watch. They have a great creator in Alexis Vega. They're the defending Liga MX champions.
Paulino's
Uh,
he's
sick.
silky, dude. He
You
is
see the
silky.
bike he scored?
Yeah,
Nasty.
Nasty.
Guy's
yeah.
nasty. So I'm going Toluca. I think a Mexican team wins this version of it. I think Toluca. I got my Club America pick wrong, so I'm just gonna be an idiot and double down and say Toluca because I think they're still one of the best teams in the tournament. Even though Orlando City, you said it, Wing, they're in great form right now. Who are you
They were
going with?
hosting, maybe different.
Yeah, it's in
But I
LA
think
though.
they'll have
Neutral venue.
Yeah, I just think they'll have trouble. That'll be a home game for Toluca.
So who you got winning it? I'm going Toluca.
Okay, I'll take a different team, but I like both your picks. I probably would have went with one of those, but just to take somebody different, I'll go with Miami.
I knew it. Well, I think Messi his health is a big concern for me.
It's
Were you guys
huge.
watching? Did you guys see him on the weekend? I mean, he is unreal. Comes back from injury. I think he's still injured, man. I don't think he's definitely not 100%. And he comes on and he scores a ridiculous goal for a game winner on one leg.
the
And then
assist?
the assist is even better.
With his opposite foot.
The guy's a joke, dude. He's honestly
He's a joke.
he's still playing at such a high level. Wing, you're a legend. Before we get out of here, can we revisit that 2009 final? There's a little rumor swirling around that Beckham he kind of joined you guys in the locker room after. Is that true?
Yeah,
What happened?
It was class. He came in afterwards just to be the classy guy that he is and say like you guys deserved it, and
You have beer all over your face?
Oh yeah. I was already acting a fool. That's for sure.
Gordo definitely wouldn't have done that.
No, but
No.
I'm sure
those
I
guys.
like to give David some credit where credit's due because he's from the little I know about him and have been around him, that is something he would do anyway. But of course it looks good for everybody to have him come in and yeah.
Of
so.
course.
Yeah, and he owed it to us after sending Javier off the field in the first 10 minutes of the game, our best player. And
Guys, without him.
Oh, that's
tore-
right. You
he-
still want
obviously it wasn't dirty or anything. They just happened to hit knees. But
collision.
Javi, Javi did his knee in like the first, I don't know, 10 15 minutes of the game.
I forgot about that.
Yet you still got a ring to show for it.
We got
over Gordo. That's got to feel good too.
Clint came on and Ned came on at halftime because Will Johnson was like,
I should have came on, but I think Omar came out with like a migraine or something.
it was a weird one. I remember Ricketts broke his hand and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right. So we ran out of stuff
MLS
fast.
baby, back in those unhinged days. We're a lot more buttoned up now. But what's not buttoned up is this podcast. Journeyman, Wing, you always bring something different, man. We love having you on. You're absolutely first call up. When one of us can't do it, you're the legend, dude. Thanks for joining, man.
Count me in. All right, thanks, guys.
Gordowski,
Appreciate you.
thank you for Gargs and his little 5-minute cameo in the beginning. We appreciate it. We'll be on next week. Journeyman, we're out.